This is a story about human endeavor, songcraft, the act of doing. When ideas strike, inspiration hits, and things seem to fall into place, seemingly from out of nowhere. My name is Kevin. I'm a recording mix engineer and producer, and in this podcast, I wanted to preserve something that's authentic in the act of doing, in creating, and my subject is music. In the second episode of Series 1, I introduced you to IDEOFON and the track called Finders Keep. In that episode, I briefly mentioned about how my encounter with Askil and IDEOFON had brought me to Norway. As you might have noticed, I didn't mention anything about traveling as we did everything from home, but that all changed when the second album was about to be recorded. Askil had put together a band, included them in the writing process, and got a group of people together in real life. But my journey to Norway started with the second album. In the episodes regarding IDEOFON, we're going to jump around in time between two Novembers, the November of 2023 and the November of 2024. I had been invited by the band to fly up to a place in the north part of Norway called Tromsø to produce their second album, which is their first studio album together as a band. And this episode is going to focus on one of the songs recorded during those times. It's called Misadventures in Broadcasting.
Smile for the camera. You know I'll know if you don't. You know I'll see right through that front. It's all about style.
This is one of those songs that makes production and the definition of production a totally different thing for 2025. I'm not sitting in front of a computer generating the sounds. I have to produce the band, and the only thing I had to go on was a demo that they performed at a concert. So despite the fact that I'm not creating the drum sounds or the synth sounds or anything, I had to come up with something that would give this song a sonic fingerprint or some sort of identity. And I'll get to that a little bit later in the episode. Because this song is actually the first single on their second album, which is almost like a new debut for the band because now there are 3 new members and a whole new palette of sounds to explore.
To hell with context.
My name is Askil, and I'm the singer, bass player, and songwriter for IDEOFON.
I'm just going to pause Askil right there for some context, because I have an accent, and my accent is from the northwest of the United States. So when I say IDEOFON, I'm saying it in my accent, and when Askil says IDEOFON, he's typically saying it in his accent, which is Norwegian.
IDEOFON. It's like phone, IDEOFON.
And as another side note, having traveled to Denmark, Sweden, and Norway quite often, I kept hearing the train announcements every time I hear him say IDEOFON in a Norwegian accent.
The next stop is IDEOFON.
In recording this conversation with Askil, we took it a little too far, and we ended up going full Norwegian with the train announcement.
Neste stasjon IDEOFON. Neste stasjon IDEOFON.
Either one is just fine. We take absolutely no offense.
Okay, so back to the podcast.
When we first all together worked as a band and flew Kevin up to Tromsø was a year prior.
Just for some context, that year was 2023.
For our first session, 4-day session for this EP/album.
And that visit in 2023 was my first time meeting all of the new band members.
When that was over, we immediately knew that we had to do this again. And turns out the time that fit everyone was exactly a year after our first session. In November 2024, we booked you a ticket. You spent way too long in transit at Oslo Airport.
But for those of you who don't know, when you fly into a Scandinavian country, the snacks and pastries game goes up by about 100% of what you're used to. So I was fine.
And picked you up from the airport.
I see him.
What you're hearing is audio from a video that Tor was recording as I arrived in Tromsø.
He's back. Hey. Back. Hey.
This was my second visit to Tromsø, as I had just been there the previous year in 2023.
After a night's rest, rigged up the studio and got to work. And it felt just like it did a year prior, if not better.
So now let's go back to the beginning and talk about how this song got started. We'll start with the drummer, Tor, who you just heard when they picked me up from the airport.
So my name is Thor, or Tor-Eivind in Norwegian, and I'm the drummer for IDEOFON. Sirann came to the practice room one day.
Hiya, I am Sirann. I am the keyboardist or pianist for IDEOFON.
Yeah, so Sirann had written this really lovely piano line.
I remember sitting at practice, and Sondre always has these really cool guitar delays. And as a joke, I turned on a lot of delay on my piano. I said, my turn. Now I'm going to do something. And it kind of stuck with us.
Which was written in 7/8.
Something happened early with the demos here. When Sirann started her piano sketch, it was in a time signature called 7/8. And for those of you who are not musical, what a time signature is an indication of the number of beats within each bar or measure. It's simply a way of keeping time. Let me give you an example. The most common way to keep time in popular music is in 4 beats per measure. This is known as 4/4. It's a subdivision, and I won't bore you to death with a verbal description of what 4/4 means. I'll just let you hear it. There it is, 4/4. And here's how to interpret this. On the high beep, that's your 1, or when you start counting. And on the low beep, that's your 2, 3, and 4. It goes like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. And don't forget, as soon as you hear the high beep again, you start with 1. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So now that you have a rudimentary understanding of time signatures, you're going to hear Askil and Tor often mention the time signature 7/8, or just 7. It's the same concept as 4/4, but instead of 4 beats per measure, it's 7 beats per measure. And using Sirann's demo, I'll give you an example of what that sounds like.
It was in 7. It didn't go in 4/4. It was in 7. She was having a really 7 kind of week.
I love 7/8, and it feels very satisfying to play.
So instead of going do 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 do, it went do 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 do. It was really weird.
So we started with the 7/8 idea,
Which is more unusual, and we really wanted to use it for something.
As we go forward in this episode, you're going to hear how each member of IDEOFON was contributing to a sound without knowing what the final outcome was going to be. So let's consider Sirann's melody here the inception of Misadventures in broadcasting.
and I think those were one of the things that I sent to Tor-Eivind, and he kind of expanded on it.
And then Tor spent some time at home developing that into more of a synth-focused type of sound.
Yeah, and I made a weird demo called Laser or something.
And this is really cool because you can hear where Tor was inspired by Sirann's piano melody, which in his demo exists in the lower octave. Let me give you an example of what that means. Here's a reminder of what Sirann's demo sounded like. And now I'm going to play Thor's demo with the piano at the lower register. And also, Thor couldn't quite remember the name of his demo. It was called Sun Laser.
Sun Laser, oh my god.
And we really liked that direction, that synth-based direction, compared to the more floaty piano-based sound that Sirann was originally using.
The crazy part is that Sirann was recording on her phone. The first time we're just jamming and trying out, and suddenly you can hear Askil starting to play the theme for the whole song. He's thinking and developing the theme in real time. It's such a cool recording to see the brains and creativity moving inside of the room.
Yeah.
My songwriting process is usually finding little melodies and phonetics that I really like. It'll be like smile, to try, and then it's trying out different phonetics. And then okay, I like these phonetics, but what words fit in here? And then you got one word here, we got another word here, and then building lyrics from that. So when we started writing the instrumental, we didn't have any idea what this song was going to be about.
Which is really, really cool. Like we can kind of snowball off each other sometimes without expecting it.
And it sounds almost like the song. It doesn't quite, but you can tell that it's being built block by block. And I think we wrote the song in something of 2 to 3 hours, and we wrote the basis of it. Misadventures is kind of like a group decision kind of project. Going into a room and just like pushing each other in every direction and being relentless and saying, nope, I didn't like that, don't do that. And it doesn't matter which instrument you're playing. You can just, I love being honest and saying, nope, that bass line doesn't work, or we should do something with the synth, or no, the fill, don't do that. Because we don't take it personally. We just want to come up with a really cool song, and then after the fact you can go in and add your bits if it's necessary.
And speaking of adding bits, that's where I come in. So let's dive into production. Well, actually, pre-production. Because there wasn't that much for me to do before I had to fly to Norway. However, I had some ideas. And I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. I had to come up with something that would give this song a sonic fingerprint or some sort of identity. And with that said, again, I had some ideas to explore. The first was the name of the song, Misadventures in Broadcasting. Immediately, that conjures up visions of FM radio transceivers and what that might sound like. And the first thing that came to mind was Kraftwerk. And if you're unfamiliar with Kraftwerk, they're a 1970s postmodern synth band that did a lot of experimentation with synths. And I'm not going to go into the history of Kraftwerk, just know they inspired the next part.
Kevin came back with this massive do-do-do-do-boom, which became kind of a statement on its own. Like, okay, we're starting this is happening right now. You're in this space with us right now. And I feel like that was just what the intro needed. At least for my part, I loved it instantly.
I wanted it to sound big and spacey, almost like an FM broadcast shooting out of a tower.
Is that where it's from? Oh, I love it. I didn't realize it had a connection to anything. I thought it was just like, ooh, here's a cool sound. Boom. Love it. You're making me discover stuff about our own music after it's out, which is great. I just liked how it sounded. Which is the sort of experience I often have with Kevin's production, is how he'll take this half-developed idea or this emotion in the music that goes halfway there, and it just takes it up to 11, which is part of the magic that Kevin brings to the table.
Okay, now let's take the story to Norway and talk about the drums. We had to record those in the studio, and I wanted to bring something special to the studio this time.
For Misadventures, in our rehearsal sessions as band, we had envisioned it having this super dry, in-your-face, old-school drum and bass, jungle-type beat, but done with a live acoustic drum kit. So that meant that our dear old Tor would have to really get to work.
Actually, it took a few weeks. I had to go into the practice room and just put a click on and actually just grind it through. And even up to until the point where we were in the studio, still felt kind of icky because we were going up and down with the BPM, and I wasn't sure if I was going to hit it naturally. But I remember we got to a point in the studio where like, this sounds really cool.
And I'm really glad that Tor-Eivind took that challenge to grind those drums, because I know that he was a bit uncomfortable doing it because it's something new. But I'm really, really happy with the outcome.
But even if we could play it technically, that didn't necessarily mean it would sound like drum and bass, so we needed this really super dry space that wouldn't have any reflections in it to capture that dry in-your-face drum sound. And luckily for us, Kevin had been doing a mix with the master's course in person with Tony Hoffer, who's produced, among other artists, M83, Depeche Mode, and Phoenix, and way too many others to name. And I'd learned this drum tent technique where you basically just envelop the drummer and the drum kit in any kinds of soft materials and walls and blankets you can find to just create this little sound capsule where nothing gets in and nothing gets out.
It was definitely more loose and open before we went into the studio. I'm kind of a chaotic drummer. Precision isn't my superpower. But when we threw up the drum tent, we started throwing up small cymbals, and then we had a second snare, and we had a cymbal stack. Ended up having only like 10 centimeters on the snare to play on because I laid a cymbal on the snare to make it snap and then used the cymbal to make a short splash hum. I remember feeling so awkward, like I gotta really do 100% precision on this song or else I'm just gonna mess it up. Took a few rounds, but I think we managed in the end. Stop it from falling down.
Are you talking about this stand over here?
Yeah, no, something to hold it here.
This is audio from a video that was recorded while we were making the drum tent, and I'll put this on YouTube so you can see it.
Stand up. Yeah. Okay.
We all scatter around the room to look for solutions to put up the drum tent, but luckily the Schisten studio has 3 giant gobos.
And if you're not familiar with what a gobo is, it's essentially a sound dampener that can be moved around depending on the need or the use case. You can see it in the YouTube video.
Hurdle up the drums all the way to the wall, put some small gobos to the wall, but then the giant gobos to the sides and the front. And then we found this like gigantic molton.
This episode is full of context definitions. A molton is a fire-resistant blanket that you can use in an emergency to just put out a fire.
I just suddenly saw someone show up with a massive black fire blanket
To put as a roof and like fill the cracks on the side. We used the biggest microphone stands we could find as like stilts to make the tent not drop in the middle. I just never done a drum tent before. And the result was so good and so clear. And I want to do that again for the next thing I do in the studio.
I mean, we just felt like we were kids again, creating pillow forts. So we were just super happy to go at it. It was a ton of fun. The end result was well worth the time and effort. So it's a great way to work with drums. The idea of the lyrics stems from the age we're living in at the moment, where you're bombarded by information, ideas, opinions, to the point where you don't know what to think, you don't know how to process it all. And for a lot of people, myself included, it can be too much. And it feels like you're in Times Square at all times. Whenever you're on your phone, you're just getting blasted with all of these impressions all the time. So I wanted to sort of capture that feeling and find this old-timey sound bite that would reflect that. So what I found was archive footage of an American TV station in their very first broadcast in color. So you're going from this very limited field of view into having all of this visual information just thrown at you, which is represented by things going into color. So what you can hear in the clip is the presenter saying, take it away in full spectrum color. And in that moment, the image turns into color. And I really liked what that represented, because that was the start of the times we're living in now, where it's everything everywhere all at the same time. And that's reflected in the soundscape as well. It's sort of busy, a little bit confusing, in your face. You don't really know where to place your focus. And that's what that song's all about.
We're getting close to the end of the episode, but before we get to the end, I want to talk about the guitars and the bass and the inspirations behind all of IDEOFON's music. We're going to talk about Sondre. He's IDEOFON's guitarist, but he's not here in the episode, so we'll hear the band talk about him. My musical history is vast and stretches all the way before I was born, and what I kept hearing when I hear Sondre play is things like The Smiths or The Cure or something like that, and it was beautiful to hear it in a modern song played by young people.
Sondre told me that was part of his inspiration. Instead of going ambient, he wanted to make it a little bit more jangly, a little bit more personality and more melodic. He found this really nice riff that just fit over all the different chords the rest of the band were playing, and it's turned into this really interesting mix of drum and bass, Tame Impala-ish bass guitar, and then on top of that you have, Kraftwerk synths and the Smiths playing on top of it, which is this sort of, it's a nice reflection of the different approaches we all take to writing and how bringing it all together turns it into something completely new that none of us could have done on our own.
I think we're never going to lose the fact that when you're in it, you feel it. But if you put out a prompt and then something gets generated for you, you're losing the ability to experience it. And I think experiencing something firsthand, that's how you live and that's how you get the best results. And I mean, I'm not saying AI is bad, and you can definitely use AI to make things faster and pump out stuff quicker than your mind would ever think of something. But the act of doing is the act of experiencing something, and I would never take that away. I love being in the moment with the people that you love. That's just a magical moment, The shared experience, guys.
Yeah!
And now, here's Misadventures in Broadcasting in its entirety.
I do think you'll see a big difference. Straight away and all spectrum.
Smile for the camera. You know I'll know if you don't. You know I'll see right through that front. It's all about style. To hell with context. Leave it convex. Bloated and empty inside. I need a fix. I need to expand my line of sight to see all shades of light. I need to paint this damn town blue. And tell myself I'm doing it just for you. Just for you. I know it's right, can't you see I'm doing it just for you. Just for you. Just for you. I know it's right, just wait and see. Rewind. Filtered through a TV from the 1960s. The town looks the same, it's still so different. And it's time I throw it out the window so you can't miss it. The color seeps in the cracks in the glass, and in the center I see you. to expand my line of sight, to see all shades of light. I need to paint this damn town blue. And tell myself I'm doing it just for you, just for
The Act of Doing is recorded, produced, and mixed by me, Kevin Skaggs. The theme music is written, recorded, and produced by me as well. All music in the episode is used with permission from the artists, IDEOFON, and me, Kevin Skaggs. Misadventures in Broadcasting was written by IDEOFON and produced by me, Kevin Skaggs, and IDEOFON. The mix for Misadventures in Broadcasting by me, Kevin Skaggs. Studio services by Chishin Studios in Tromsø, Norway. Engineering by Ellery Danes. Mastering by Magnus Gulbrandsen at Jelöy Mastering in Moss, Norway. This has been episode 4 of series 1 of The Act of Doing. Keep an eye on this spot. We're going to have more episodes to come in the future.